Good morning. Oh, it's morning for me. How y'all doing? It's live coding today. And that means we'll be live. I don't know, sorry. Let me have, nope, that's not coffee. This is coffee. Let me have some coffee. Today, we're gonna be hunting down some bugs. So, I got my chats all right. I don't need you to say nothing though. All right, and with YouTube, make sure I can see everybody. All right, but I don't actually need the video playing. That will make it more likely we'll have network problems. So let's start off by just getting our assistant going. And seeing what exactly the problems are. So what our assistant right now is doing is we have a CSV file, and this is also a this CSV file we've converted into a SQLite database, and the thing that we're working on with our assistant is allowing users who are using the assistant to query the SQLite database. And this is a list of learning resources around machine learning and NLP. And people can right now ask for things by the type of resource they are, whether it's a book or videos or courses or whatever. And I want them to also be able to ask by the topic. So like NLP, machine learning, Rasa, and to also be able to do both of those at the same time. And we've worked out the logic for that. If I don't have something that matches both the requirements, we're going to return the one that matches one and be like, hey, sorry, I know this isn't exactly it. But I thought I got it working. Well, no, I thought there might be some sort of problem. But as we were working with it last week, we should have most of the logic ironed out. And now we're just trying to figure out where I went wrong. It was somewhere. It happens. We're going to figure it out. All right, so the first thing I need to do is run the action server. And good morning, Nick. Thank you. Let's make sure that we have logging on. VV and debug should be synonyms, but I just want to use debug just to be sure. Make sure that gets up and running. And this is a server that's running our Python code in our actions file here, and we'll probably be working with that over the course of the live coding. And it looks like it's good to go. And we have the function. The original function was called query resource type that only allowed you to query like whether it was a course or video. And we've rewritten it as query resource that also allows you to query topic. So that is our function's up and running. We haven't run into any bugs so far. Next thing I want to do is get the assistant running. So the assistant is going to allow us to interact with the action server using natural language. Hey, Kale, welcome. Yeah, you're just in time. We're just starting. Rasa shell. All right. So now we're launching the assistant, and this is just to see what exactly happens, because I don't remember exactly what went wrong last time. I was just like, well, it doesn't work. We're just gonna need to figure out what it is. And in case you're curious, we're using SQLite and we're using the Python built-in SQLite package. I have not used SQLite previously. I've used other flavors of SQL, so that could potentially be the issue. It could be like a dialect-specific thing. Hi, I want a book on ML. I remember what the bug was. The bug was that we were not correctly extracting the entities. So this should give us a book on ML, though, hopefully. Find out. Cookie day. So, this is the problem. We got some sort of error. Oh, I also vaguely remember this. Okay, so we had an error in our matching, our fuzzy matching. And I think we fixed that. And I don't remember where this second error was. Hi, Faison. Good to see you. It's been a minute. All right. So if we look back at our traceback, okay, so the query resource action was correctly triggered. That's good. And The problem was in the actions, all right. Slot name, resource topic name, slot value, resource topic value 0, okay. Get closest value, okay. Extract 1, and this is from this package. Oh no. Won't process. Replace non-letters, non-numbers with white spaces. And okay, so this is still the problem with the package we're doing for fuzzy matching. Expected string or bytes like object, and instead it got question mark. We don't know what it got. So what is happening? Let's relaunch our assistant with full logging, because I think we actually do need the full logging. Why don't you use MySQL? Good question. So the reason I'm using SQLite is A, it's built into Python. I don't believe MySQL is. It has additional dependencies, and I want this to be pretty lightweight. And B, it is smaller and faster than MySQL. So it's, as we ran into last week, it's very low level, which means you have to do a lot of stuff yourself. But the benefit of that is that it would work well, for example, on an embedded system, or if you didn't want to have like a really big virtual machine. And the database itself is in the same directory as our assistant, right? Like the whole database is on disk, and it is in this case not an especially big database. It's what, 9 lines. But if you were going to do that, you'd want the lightest possible framework, right? So that's why I went with SQLite. You could absolutely do it with MySQL, which probably made my life a little bit easier in terms of syntax, because I'm more familiar with MySQL. But I think would not have been as good of a choice for the other reasons outlined previously. All right, and now Rasa shall give me them good logs. Nick says you can use difflib get close matches. Oh, interesting. I'm not familiar with difflib. So we're using a Python package called fuzzy wuzzy, which apparently is a pejorative term for specific people from Ethiopia. Yeah, so if I could actually use something else that had a different name, I would prefer that. Difflib Python. Meanwhile, let's try this again. And up arrow isn't working, so I'm just going to retype it. Hi, I would like a video about Rasa. So this should extract video and Rasa as entities and save them into slots. What all happened? Start. Okay, so some things that have happened here. A, the intent is wrong. This should be resource inquiry, I think is the name of the intent that I meant it to be. Let me double check. Here's my list of ask resource was the intent I expected it to be, and instead it is inform. So that's not quite right, but it's still triggering the action, so that's good. And it is only identifying the entity Rasa. It's not identifying the entity video, which it should be. And even though it identifies Rasa, it doesn't set the topic to be Rasa, which is also a problem. So there's something going on there. I think probably my syntax is slightly wrong. Yeah, so Rasa has been extracted as an entity. Video was not extracted as an entity. There's no memorized next action. No memorized next action. And using TED, it's like, okay, I think she wants to query a resource, which is right. That is the correct action. So it was sort of guessing, even though there was no memorized example, because the inform intent was incorrect. So I think we're getting around it. And then we ran into an exception, and we're going to need to check the action server. And there was just like internal information. Okay, so I think what might be going on here actually is that we are getting this error that they're getting a string, that they're expecting a string in byte slice object, and we are instead passing in none. Because when a slot is not set, its value is none, so we're just passing in like something that's null, basically, and it's expecting to be able to do string operations on it, and it's not a string. So I think the problem is with, and I vaguely remember this being the discussion we had at the end of the last stream, I think the problem here is that we are not correctly extracting the entities. And I'm not 100% sure why, but I'm guessing it might be something that I've done. It feels like my fault. All right. Liza says, I'm from Ethiopia. Yeah. I remember you'd mentioned that before. I'm wondering where the slot resource topic is set. Yeah, it's not being set is the problem here. So let's look at how we talk about it here. Okay. So resource type categorical. Influence conversation true. Values. Okay, and resource type. So these are all entities that we are extracting up here. And it looks like this one is never being successfully extracted, right? And if we go to our NLU and look at examples of our entities, Rasa with different capitalizations, machine learning and ML should both be mapped to ML, course, book, learning resource, learning guide, book, videos, course, machine learning. Okay. Well, do I have no examples of NLP? Maybe that's the problem. No, I do. Yeah. So I'm wondering if these... I'm wondering if it's my intent structure A. Also, as long as I'm doing this, I should also do... So let's Rasa NLU debug. Let's run just an NLU server really quick to see what's happening in here. Invalid choice. Because I forgot the verb. Oh, is it Rasa shell NLU? I can never remember the exact syntax. Okay. Yeah. On syntax media. Nick says maybe try the slot type to text and influence conversation as false. Yeah. So it would be from text would be a little bit weird given that we're not collecting it with a form. So maybe actually a form might be the best way to go to make sure that we get all the slots that we need. Yeah. He says, I want to work in Rasa. Is there something we could work in Rasa that we can work from another country? So we actually talked about this when Liam was the guest for the office hours. He's the head of talents and acquisition here at Rasa. And right now we can only hire people who can work in the US, the EU, and it might specifically be Germany and the UK, and that's for like taxes and paperwork reasons, basically. So if you can work in one of those countries, then yes. But unfortunately, that's what we have the ability to do. All right, so let's try this. I want a book about Rasa. Let's see what we're getting. All right. So we have the entity Rasa that's been correctly identified. We have the entity resource type of value book. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's do... Yeah, let's restructure everything. I think that'll be the easiest thing that we can do. And then at this point, I don't think I actually want them to introduce the conversation, and I think I actually want them from entities. I don't remember why I did it from text. I think that's maybe not the best decision. No, at this point, I'm just like trying stuff to see if it'll work better. What was I looking for? I've got the Rasa docs open, and I was searching for Rasa slots domain. Pull that over. Okay, so we've got the slots really quick. Conversation behavior. All right. Slots, types, storing text values. I don't know why I can't scroll. Very odd. Okay. So okay, now I can scroll. Maybe it's because I popped it out of the Chrome window. I have no idea why that would be. Okay, slot types, text, Boolean, categorical, float, list, any. Okay. So I think it should be text, storing text values. Yeah, okay, so I think they should both be text. And I think that this one should be, in fact, yeah, I don't think we actually need to include the values because we're going to redo everything to be this. And we're gonna have to do some aliasing, I think. Let's just give it a shot and see if it works, and then we can work on some synonym stuff. And I think the benefit of this is that we should not be passing empty slots to our assistant. And then we can go back and rejigger this later. But I want to make sure that that is in fact what the issue is. So all right, Rasa Train, really quick. NLP twice. Oh, right, Control V, sorry. Okay, I think I clicked in the wrong place for that to work. To make the The file browser different. Typo in the stream's title. Maybe. Custom action bug hung. Yeah, it should be hunt. One sec. Every so often, I do a bad job with typing. And by every so often, I mean most of the time. Thank you. All right. Should be updated to say hunt now. Rasa Train, NLU. Oh, there's all my bees. Okay, so now we should be able to see if we have fixed the problem where we are not getting our slots set. How can the extracted entities and intents go into a custom action? I mean, when we do the custom action, how are these things transferred to the custom action when we do the custom action? That's a great question. So we talked about this a little bit on Wednesday in the Q&A as well. So the Rasa SDK is the code that allows you to interact with your assistant from within Python. And what it will do is if you're like, hey, Git Slot, it'll go over and be like, hey, what's in this slot set? And then it'll be told and it'll take it back. What you cannot do in the body of a method is change things over here because you will only be able to change things in your conversation if you return those so that it's seen. Does that make sense? It's something that we talked about. I want a book on ML. Resource type, yep, resource topic. Fantastic. Okay, so having just changed that, let's go back and I don't think we need to restart the action server. I think we can just stop the assistant. Stop. There we go. Rasa shell. Yeah, I don't wanna do debug. I'm popping that back out so you can see the whole conversation. I want a book about NLP. Mm-hmm. Okay. That works well. So far, so good. I'm just trying different things and seeing what we get. The last result was not ideal, but it returned something, right? And I'd said during the design process that my preference was to return some result, even if it wasn't exactly what the person was looking for. A video on AI. Yeah, okay. So, pros and cons. Pro, it works. Con, we're no longer mapping these synonyms onto other things. So AI is no longer being mapped to ML, which is, yeah, something. Also, this intent seems to be, the out of scope intent seems to be being triggered more than I would like. So that's something as well to think about. But we've solved the main problem, which is good. What we have not solved is our secondary problem, which is that the results are not as good anymore because of the way that we fix it. So slot extraction, 10 out of 10, working appropriately. Information extracted from those slots could use a little zhuzhing. Nick says, I have a JSON with 50 countries. Intent has 4 countries, Spain country. So if user wants to deal with the stores in any of X country, I am matching them, but the intent only includes 4 countries. It returns only that country data, but not any other country data. If you have, we do have a thing specifically for that, and I'm trying to remember what it's called. I know we talked about it with Maddie on Wednesday. Yeah. What's it called? Is it in training data? Yeah, there's a specific thing, and the name is escaping me. We're probably going to use synonyms, by the way, to help with the thing where like AI is not being mapped to ML, which is what I'm calling it. Lookup tables is what it's called. Yes. So what I would do is I would put that whole thing in a lookup table, and you just have a big list of all the countries you're interested in, and they'll be matched. So that's what I would do there. Yeah, okay. But this was helpful because we pulled up the synonyms and they go in the NLU data. So let's add those. Normalize your training data by mapping an extracted entity to a value other than the literal text extracted. You can define synonyms in this format. You can also define synonyms inline in your training examples by specifying the value of each entity. Great. Okay, yeah, let's do that. I think that'll be the most efficient way to do this. In what format are the dates in the data transfer when we say Git Slot? If you have specific questions about the format, the Rasa Action Server API specs is going to have like all that information in detail. It's going to be some sort of like JSON thing that gets passed back and forth, but the SDK will just parse it into a Python object. Good question, though. Nothing mentioned them at all. Needs a lot of data to perform well. Yeah, so the lookup table is actually doing like regex matching, basically. So if it's like something like a country name that's going to be pretty consistently produced, then that should work. Can you make a fill mask and the integration of Rasa plus BERT? Is there, and Rasa shell predicts the mask word. Oh, you probably could. I would say it's not super high, probably not a super high priority for our engineering team. We're open source though, so if that's something you want to work on, please feel free. There's a Hugging Face integration that I think integrates with, I'm pretty sure they have a BERT model. So that's where I would start. And a little discussion of K-pop and K-drama in the chat. All right. So I'm just have the format for this discussion, not the discussion. I've just got the format for the thingadoogle over here. All right. Those should be good because we are doing a little bit of fuzzy matching. As long as we don't pass it, you know, a null, it should do some string operations on it. Okay, so here's where we do it. So the entity, T-I-T-Y, and actually here I think I do want to get rid of that. So it's entity, and that's going to be in, oh, first of all, whole thing in curly brackets. All right. And then the entity is a resource topic. And the value is whatever I want the value to be. So the value is ML. No, that's not what I wanted at all. Fat fingered it. There we go. Okay, so let's go through and do this. That's right. NLP is good. This one, we actually want the language technology to also be NLP. And these are just so it's going to be a little bit of a closer match for stuff in our database. Course book. All right, do this one. Yep. Okay, those should all be pretty good. And I think I can actually get rid of some of the examples in here. I want... We definitely have examples of... no, we don't actually. Video, and this is resource types. No, I'm just adding additional training data. And we have this inform intent here. Oh yeah, I think someone mentioned that we had this twice. NLP, there we go. Learning and so we should be better at identifying this ask for resource intent. And I'm just leaving my typos in because I think that is a good representation of how people type. Because that's how I type. There we go. All right, and now we're gonna retrain and give it another shot. All right. Are there any links? I don't want to manual feed everything, and even for the API, it's a mess for the country names. Yeah, I think the lookup table should work for the thing that you were talking about there. When will Sarah be online? That's a great question. So the GitHub is available now. It's an ongoing project. So I mean, the big thing is Sarah's pretty complex as an assistant, and working on the 2.0 upgrade, and it's been a little bit since she was sort of like a big since anyone had like a lot of dedicated time to work on her. So TBD. Hi, Vidya Cigar. Sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly. Yeah. Docs for how to use Spacey with Rasa. Yeah, and I think Vincent is also working on some additional stuff for the Spacey 3.0. I think Spacey, the big launch was just 3, so keep an eye out for that. Hong Hyun, sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly, said, can you please share how to set a slot value if the entity name is different from the slot name? That's what I was trying to do with the categorical values. And I did it bad. But the general idea. The general idea is that you can give information here. So in the domain file about how to fill it. I would say if you have a lot of slots that you are setting, then using a form is going to be your best approach there, because that will let you gather values for a lot of slots. But this is what I was trying to do. So I have these values, low, medium, and high, and I'm trying to set them to be the value of the risk level slot. And I did a bad job there somewhere. I don't know what I did. Something. All right, let's give this focus. There we go. Let's give this another shot. So Rasa shell, and we haven't made any changes to the action server, so we just have the same action server up and running. Move it over so you can actually see the whole conversation. Right, I want a video on NLP. Yeah. I want a course about do you know an ML course? I need machine learning videos. Yeah. Do you have NLP videos I was gonna say you'd recommend. I don't have any NLP videos in my ML database here. I thought I did. Interesting. Okay, so well, now it's just giving me the logs of what happened successfully, and I think this is debug. Yeah, so this is the most information I'm gonna get. Interesting. Am I spelling video wrongly enough that it's not correctly? I want a video. Did I not include video as a resource type in my NLU data? Hold, please. Right, then, what are some good videos? And then NLP is there we go. Okay, so I think I just didn't have enough training examples. All right, this is honestly working pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it and the way it's working so far. I think it's just that I needed additional training data. So yeah, some more discussion in the I have one question. So I've implemented a form filling email ID slot that triggers when the intent is greet, followed by a custom action to validate the user email ID. Should I add it as a story or a rule? I would probably add it as a story, because I can imagine, I mean, so I guess my question in general, whenever you're like, should this be a story or should this be a rule, I would recommend a story. And the reason is because if someone's going through and then suddenly they're like, oh, I have to go right now, end my session, you know, the fire alarm is going off or whatever, then a story will let them do that, right? Or if they're like, hey, is this a bot, right after you ask for their email before you do the validation, then a story can handle that and then hop back in and be like, probably you want to validate this. A rule will always do the same thing. So because, you know, conversations are unpredictable, in general, I recommend stories when you're choosing between a story and a rule. A difference would be something where like you do not want the conversation to happen, continue or something to happen unless something else has already happened, right? So, like even if there's a fire alarm going off, I use this as an example all the time. If you had like a fun like bartender drink recommendation bot, right? It's illegal to sell alcohol to people under 21 or market alcohol to people under 21 in the US. You want to be like, hey, are you over 21? All right, we can proceed. No, immediately, goodbye. Peace out. We cannot talk to you. So that's the idea. Yep, and Nick says stories as well. Yeah. I mean, you can build a Rasa assistant that only uses rules, but at that point, you're not taking advantage of what it is that makes Rasa good and flexible and lets you have conversations in different orders, which is, you know, why we think that we're good is because we not that other frameworks don't let you do that, but that's a really central tenet of Rasa is that it's not all rule-based. Rules can be part of it, but the flow of the conversation is based on the training data you provide, which is the stories. All right, I am pretty happy. That did not take as long as I thought it might. So let's take let's take a look at our assistant, because I think that at this point we've gotten our actually, you know what? No, I think I want to do one more conversation, and then I think I want to create some test conversations and then start doing testing. Because at this point, the main functionality that I wanted it to have is working. So, but I do need to retrain because I added new training data. Nick says, I only use stories and stories. Yeah, stories are good. I mean, you could also build a Rasa system with only stories. Oh, and I think I had let me check my config, because I think I remember getting a, not an error, but like something about, well, let's see. Yeah, I don't think you need both the memoization and the augmented memoization policy. I think I can get rid of that one. All right. Now we should be able to get NLP videos, hopefully. Yeah, I tend to get a lot of questions from people who are working on a Rasa assistant sort of in the early stages, and they're like, it's not working well enough. How do I change the machine learning? And my answer is almost always, actually, it's data. You should add some more data. Can you recommend NLP videos? So I expect NLP should be extracted as a slot, and I expect that video should be extracted as a slot. A splot. So let's take a yes, and yet it is not being correctly handled. Okay. All right. So I'm doing this to get rid of all the slot values that we have. I want a video. So I'm wondering if maybe my resource type is going poorly. All right, so this is being extracted correctly. No memorize next action. No memorize next action. Yep. No applicable rule. And it's just listening. Ah. All right, and that is this time. So something has happened. Oh, I think we have maybe. So remember when I was all like, oh, maybe there is a bug. Right, there's a bug because we can't handle empty strings. You know what I could have done instead of entirely rewriting my intent structure and my, sorry, not my intent structure, my entities, would have been to add a little check to see if the strings were empty or to make sure they were strings. That could have helped. All right, let's head to the actions file. Now I just feel silly. That's okay. Because I knew what the answer was, and I came up with a very convoluted answer to it instead of a very simple answer to it. And then controlling the site. Yeah, I'm trying to, so when I'm having a conversation, I pop it out so you can see the whole conversation, because otherwise I'm in front of part of it. Fisa says, I think you need lots of spellings. Some have the S and some not with different intents. Yeah, so it should be able to handle that. I can always set my my config to have character level models, which will be able to handle the spelling variation. And it's doing an okay job, like, extracting them. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be the problem. Although it could be the problem. Maybe I should just go with a character level model to help handle the spelling variation anyway. That might be a whole nother video because I think that's something that people would be interested in. I'm just seeing. Ooh. My pen's dead. Let me make a note with a new pen. Spelling error. I get a lot of questions about that. All right. Any ideas to enforce authentication in Rasa, like asking the user to log in? I would ask on the forums about that. There's quite a bit of discussion there. If you mean authentication for Rasa X, so people can log in and do different things, in that case, I would talk to our sales team because that's a feature of Rasa X Enterprise or Rasa Enterprise. All right. So yeah. I think what we can do think that's right Python syntax. I think that's me being badly bilingual. And check if value is none in Python. Just want to double check. Check if a variable is not null. There are many good answers. Hey! Guess what? I was right. These just don't need to be in quotes. Good job, Rachel. So this is just creating it to be an empty string if there's with a space in it, if there's no no thing in it. We'll make sure this is exactly the same for both of them. Otherwise, we are going to have a bad time. All right, so I think that'll work. At some point, should I put all of this in another function? Listen, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Right now, we're only repeating the code twice, so I think that should be fine. My sort of rule of thumb is once I'm repeating it 3 times, then I'll stick it in another method. So that's looking pretty good. Do I have any more coffee? I don't. Oh, I do have some tea left. I don't think I chose that too much. All right. And it's herbal, so it won't stain. So that should help there. And let's kill this and restart it. Actually, let's just kill everything and restart it. Why not? Blank slate. Uh-oh. The why not might be because Visual Studio will crash Visual Studio. For a second I was like, it's Virtual Studio. No, it's definitely Visual Studio. That's definitely what it's called. Yep. It's updating? We may be here for a while, friends. How y'all doing? Pull up the docs. Good time to go through the docs. Yeah. Actually, you know what might be helpful is... Oops, sorry. Go back up. No! No! I'm moving my full visual assets around. Are there any questions that I didn't get to that we can do now while we're waiting for Visual Studio Code to update in the middle of stream? Not my preference, but that's what happened, and that's okay. We can handle that. Yeah, actually I think Rasa Playground might be a good way to play with some of the slots. All good. Responses. Okay, stories, yeah, forms, and then rules. Okay, so let's try adding some examples here. I think this is going to use Duckling. Let's see. Form, stories, responses. Oh, I don't think we can actually edit the domain in the playground, so maybe we can't do this here. But yeah, I was gonna play around with slots a little bit more. So if you haven't used the playground, this is all like editable, and then you can retrain and then talk to your assistant right in the browser. It's fun. See if there's been any questions. Habib says, if A is not none for checking if A is definitely not none, if A not A is for checking if it's false. Ah, helpful. It should be just directly none though, because it's passed in from the APIs that, ooh, it might be null. we'll find out. I remember, not Maddie, Melinda and I were talking about it on Wednesday. We may be done. I don't think this is gonna be a quick update process, and I don't see any way to get around it. So I think I'm gonna call that here. Thank you for joining me. I hope that we fix the bugs, but I guess we'll find out later. Let me try something. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, okay. I'm suspicious. I'm suspicious that this is not in fact going to work, but we can give it a shot. Okay. No stopping so far. And I know it's not your favorite, but I am gonna pop that up just so that the conversation is not behind my head. Okay, so far so good. Maybe this did work. You done launching? Yep, that works good. Okay, let's give it a shot. Kia says, how easy will it be to add other languages? I mean, because we use Spacey, it's really dependent on how well supported they are in Spacey. But like we try to make it pretty easy to, you know, change things around and to have it be modular so that people who are using other languages can make it work. The embeddings, the word representations are probably going to be the thing that is the biggest sticking point. And if there are some for your target language and you can use those, fantastic. Otherwise, you're going to probably have to have a little bit more data to train them in the first place. But that's the sort of thing. Yeah. So let's see if this works. Yeah. How was the summit? The summit was good. Yeah, it went really well. Lots of folks got a chance to talk to people. It was nice. Please just show me a video. Something's up. I have a sneaking suspicion that it's just recommending the first thing. Oh no. Okay. So good news, bad news. Oh, is this happening every time? I'm just going to send it something with no slot values whatsoever. All right. Interesting, 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 interesting. What? Hmm. So it looks like what is happening is that all of my queries are being converted to this empty string, which is not what I want at all. It also looks like something is happening when I make multiple queries, where the slot values are not being overridden or they're not being reset. All right, let's try. First of all, let's try being in the right. Oh no. Nah. I think I was right to be suspicious. Okay, well, noted. We had a brief moment of victory and we are now no longer enjoying that. I am also struggling with my IDE, and I think that that's a good signal that it's time to call it a day. So I think something in this attempt to handle empty slots being passed in is going funky. And we can work on that next time. And also I do want to handle spelling variation because I think Feist is right. I think that'll help. So we can handle that next Friday. Next Wednesday we've got our office hours. Next Thursday morning at 8, so an hour before the usual live streaming time, we have our release notes webinar. It's the very first one, and that will be about the latest Rasa release. There'll be a Q&A section if you have questions. We'll talk about all the sorts of new stuff that's come out, so be sure to tune into that. And then after that, there'll be the reading group, and then on Friday we'll be back with more live coding. So yeah, it's definitely a problem with the stuff I've extracted or what I am doing with it in the action. We can handle that in the future. All right, thank you so much for joining today. I think we mostly made it work, and I think that our attempt to deal with edge cases has caused us some problems, and we'll handle that in the future. All right, have a great weekend. I'll talk to you later, and I'll see you then.